Debbie thought that you might be interested in how Grandpa and I met, and so I don't know whether you are or not, but here it goes anyway. So I'd say, well, long ago and far, far away in a land called Southern California, lived a young maiden, and for myself, I just come out of, I was a junior in high school, and I'm the oldest in my family of siblings, and my favorite thing was to go to the stake dances, and I like to, was my favorite thing was to dance, and I went to all the dances with my friends. And Grandpa, on the other hand, was the youngest of his family. He had 3 older sisters, Phyllis and Margie and Janice. And then 10 years later, he was born. So he had like 4 mothers to spoil him. I was the oldest, and there was no room for spoiling the oldest, as Debbie knows. So anyway, in those days, in the olden days, Southern California still wasn't very settled with Mormon churches, but and we were a little bit lax in how we went to church. My grandma, Chloe, went to a little ward called Walnut Park Ward in the South Los Angeles state, and we actually lived about a mile and a half away, and we lived in Huntington Park Ward, but Grandma went to Walnut Park Ward, and that's where I first joined the church when I was 12 with my mother and my brother, and so I had a lot of friends there. So I was always going to Walnut Park Ward. Grandpa's sister Janice and her husband Stan and family. I knew his family before I knew him. I knew Janice and Stan, and I knew Margie. Margie took a group of girls up to camp, a snow camp, up around Arrowhead. And Margie was in charge of that. So I knew his older sisters before I ever knew him. And they also lived in Huntington Park Ward, but went to Walnut Park Ward. So that's how come I knew them. And then the stake president got word that we were all supposed to go to our ward that we lived in. This was like, I didn't want to do that because I had so many friends in Walnut Park Ward, but the bishop told me that if I did, I would be greatly blessed. So I thought, well, then I guess I should go where I'm supposed to go. So I gave up, my best friends in Walnut Park Ward and started going to Huntington Park Ward. And and then I was so happy to see that at least some of the others had to come with me. But I didn't know what was going on exactly. I was like just, going into my senior year. And I think we had like a stake conference, and Carl's mother always was in charge of a dinner. And she always served mashed potatoes and gravy and roast beef and string beans. That was her main menu. And so she asked I guess I was a junior, a junior gleaner in Mutual, and all the girls were supposed to serve dinner to everybody that came over from the stake meeting in between. So we were doing our thing, and Janice and Stan were also there helping Grandma, right? Helping their mother. And so I think it was Stan who came up to me and said that there was somebody that wanted to meet me. And I said, oh, really? And I kept on working around there. And I didn't pay much attention to that. But so I think it was like the next Sunday or so at church. And I had to walk to church by myself, and usually, because Mama didn't want to make the change to the new ward. She didn't know anybody, and Grandma wasn't there, and she was still kind of a new member. So, anyway, I was there. I was sitting down, and then there was a break between the opening and going into your Sunday school classes. So I got up to go at the end of the meeting. I got up to go into Sunday school meeting, and Janice comes bopping up and says, "I want you to meet my brother. Barbara, this is Carl. Carl, this is Barbara." And off she went. And and so I looked and I thought, okay, well, so how do you do? And off I go to my Sunday school class. And Grandpa was right on my heels. He followed me right into class, and he sat right down beside me. And I just, I said, okay, that's nice, I guess. I didn't pay much attention, really. And so I guess we talked a little bit, and then he offered to take me home. And I thought, well, that's nice. I've never had anybody ask me to do that. So anyway, he took me home. I don't know whether he took me home, but anyway, he asked if he could come and pick me up for church. I guess he didn't take me home because I didn't tell him where I lived yet. So, but he wanted to know if he could take me to church that night, because we had church in the morning, and then we had a break, and then we had church at 6 o'clock at night in the old days. So I told Mom that I had somebody that was going to pick me up for church, but he'd probably be late because nobody knew where I lived. I lived on the other side of the tracks, you might say, in the poorer section of town, and anybody that always came to pick me up was always late because they could never find my little street. It was 7211 Roseberry Avenue, and so I was getting ready for church, and I forgot to tell you that when I saw him, when he came to church for Sunday school, he had a mustache, and black hair and all, and I wasn't that impressed. So anyway, so he came to pick me up, and he was like 5 or 10 minutes early. And I thought, oh my gosh, how come this guy's early? How does he know where I live? So, but when I had just gotten ready for Mom's little dressing room area, and so when I opened the door to let him come in, and he came in, he looked a lot better because he had shaved his mustache. So that was our first date, our first time out. We went to sacrament meeting. That was our first date. That's it.
Okay. And we all know what happened after that.